Hi, and welcome to another episode of 10xMarketer podcast. If you are a senior executive or a mid career professional, you understand the importance of personal branding and the content marketing that you have to do for your brand and also for your company. This episode I recorded with Purna Virji. She is a senior consultant with LinkedIn. She worked with Microsoft in past and also one of the best-selling authors of high impact marketing. We talked about how to build content, how to build authority using content marketing strategies, and with AI and everything else that is happening in the market, how is it so important for both the brands and the executives to build their own personal authority on LinkedIn as a platform and otherwise also. Purna shared some practical steps, also do's and don'ts for senior executives. This episode is filled with a lot of insights and you're definitely going to enjoy it. Before we jump into the episode and listen to Purna, can I request you to subscribe to the 10x Marketer podcast and then we go ahead and listen to what she has to share?
So much for having me. I'm really excited to do this. So I'm Purna. I am a principal content solutions consultant at LinkedIn, which means that I get to learn and share and apply um, all the wisdom on how businesses can grow themselves through the power of content on LinkedIn and beyond. I'm also the author of the best-selling, award-winning book, High Impact Content Marketing.
Great, it's really so great to have you. And coming from somebody who is directly working on LinkedIn, my first question is, see, the thought leadership is critical today for executives. And one of the things that LinkedIn can enable quickly is the thought leadership for executives. How do you think, why is it so important in today's time, and how LinkedIn is uniquely able to enable as compared to other options that people have?
That's a great question to start with. So the first one is that let's just think about the state of the markets across the world. We're seeing the same thing, right? Economies are in flux. Buying cycles are just getting longer and longer. There's increased competition, and it's getting harder to stand out, right? If I look at five different CRM companies, for example, they might offer very similar things. Also, actually, I'm going to ask you this question. How many CRM companies do you think exist just in the US alone at the moment?
There might be more than 5 to 10,000, I think. If you
Easily.
count all the startup, the number would be even higher.
Exactly. So let's say it's like thousands. Let's say even if it is just 1,000, if you are in the market to go and buy a CRM system for your company, how many of these companies are you going to review? You're not going to review all 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, right? There's just not enough time. We will go with the five or six companies that are top of mind for us. And so when offerings are very similar, how can you stand out? It's not just enough to build your company brand anymore. We need to focus on your people. Right? Think about your own behavior. People follow people before they follow brands. And so you want to make sure that what's unique to you, what nobody else has, are your executives, are your employees, are your subject matter experts. And if you can build that thought leadership, then it can help a lot. In fact, LinkedIn did a study with Edelman just this year where they found that 77% of buyers are interested in hearing from deep subject matter experts delving into these specialized topics rather than just anybody they may or may not know. And plus, 75% of people say that a piece of thought leadership has led them to research a product or service that they may not have been previously considering. So if you just want to get on that short list and then get thought about, thought leadership really, really has to, uh, is your key secret. And then to quickly answer why LinkedIn, it's really about our members, right? LinkedIn, we've got over 1 billion members all over the world. Like India is one of our fastest growing markets, in fact. Our members see their time on LinkedIn as an investment in themselves, right? They're not coming here just to like kill time or do time pass, right? They're coming on LinkedIn to learn, to grow, to network. And so getting to learn and engage with other thought leaders is one of the prime uses of the platform.
Great. So I think one of the biggest challenge with building the thought leadership is most people don't know how to measure the impact. They feel if it is like a TV advertisement, you don't know who is seeing it and who is actually coming and buying because of what they have seen. So the attribution is real problem. So I'm let's say I have seen your content, you're talking about something new feature that LinkedIn has added, and maybe that is there in my mind, but when I actually decided to purchase it, I didn't go through your content. I might have taken some other route to actually convert. Maybe I seen your ad, LinkedIn ad, and I converted from there because earlier you piqued my interest, but something else came up and that finally converted me. So the real one of the real challenge is attribution. How do you know that your effort are in the right direction? And since we are talking about the executive thought leadership, the real problem is the executives are short on time, and if there is no clear attribution, there is no way to attribute that this is coming because of this, then they are not going to spend much of the time there, right? So how do you really connect these two dots? How do you see that yes, this is because of this?
So that's a really good question. And if we only judge things on bottom funnel metrics, then we're only measuring an incomplete picture. So thought leadership can work at the top of the funnel, middle funnel, and of course, bottom of the funnel, right? If you have a customer sharing their case study at the end, like that's a great bottom funnel social proof metric. But at the top of the funnel, there's so much. You can look at things like brand lift studies. How do people perceive your brand differently? You can look at things like website traffic a lot more. You can look at your conversion rates overall, like have they changed after you've spent time invested? You can look at, so if I look at my single post and I break down the analytics of every post, am I reaching the types of people, right? Let's say when I was launching my book, I did a lot of posts that came out from my book, and I wanted to see, like, I'm targeting marketers and business owners with my book, right? It's all about high impact content marketing. So am I reaching other marketing people? You could see in the titles of people you reach. You can look at the companies if I'm doing ABM, but then it goes beyond that, right? You can look at, um am I getting invites for events? Am I getting invites for podcasts? Right? You reached out to me after seeing me on LinkedIn. So that is such a great way. I'm like, listen, it's working because, you know, you reached out to me, that's awesome for me, right? And so there's so many things that now more people will get to hear about what I have to say. And then hopefully that can influence them. And again, most of us, if we think our own journey, like, it's those days have gone. Like, when 10 years ago, we could say that we saw something on a website, we saw something on a social media ad, we went and clicked it, and then we bought it, right? Now there's so many platforms, the customer journey is so much longer, there's so many different touch points. We just have to be in there, so you can still notice. It's more like a leading indicator rather than a direct end goal. So definitely don't just look at, I spent 3 hours creating these posts, I posted for 2 months. What happened? That's not going to happen that quickly. It's also
Yeah, so I think one
time.
of the important aspect that thought leaders or the executive has to think of is it's like the brand building exercise. It's your
Yeah.
awareness campaign. So everybody who is seeing your ad for the first time or seeing your brand or you for the first time are not going to convert. There may be a percentage of people who will come down into that funnel, but your main job is to reach more people, get more impression. And it's good that you talked about the website traffic. I think the real challenge that the AI brings is the website traffic is going to go down. The information query are not going to perform as they used to perform earlier in bringing the organic traffic. So people have to think beyond their website. So if I'm on a platform like LinkedIn, my approach should be that how much impression I can get on LinkedIn rather than how
Yeah.
much traffic I'm drawing to my website, because that is not going to happen anyways. Every platform has its own algorithm that wants people to spend more time on the platform than outside the platform. So if you want to build thought leadership on LinkedIn, think of it how much time I can spend on LinkedIn so that people get to see more of my content, and that those people get engaged with me or my brand on LinkedIn rather than outside LinkedIn. because that is not going to happen anyway. They want to stay in the platform, and they want to judge you based on your activity on the platform.
Yeah,
And if there is a buying decision, then only they will interact with you, and that interaction may start on LinkedIn and then maybe taken forward on emails or WhatsApps or wherever. So people have to think beyond the website traffic. And the real metrics that can happen for a top of the funnel, which is like the brand awareness. I'm trying to connect thought leadership with the brand awareness, is how much impression your content is getting. Let's say you target million impressions with your content per month. If you're able to achieve that number, some of it will definitely translate into like middle of the funnel or bottom of the funnel. And that's where you as a brand has to catch those people, because you piqued somebody's interest. They are already in the middle of the funnel, they are interested in your kind of product. Then it's your job as a company to convert them into your customers. But
exactly.
thought leadership is has done its job. If they are interested
Yeah.
in you, if they're visiting your profile, if they're liking your content, if they're requesting your connection, that means thought leadership has definitely done its job. But now is the time for your brand to pick up. Now is the time for your next level of funnel or the content to engage them. So when you think of a thought leadership, you have to think like that rather than just thinking straight, like my content is not performing, what should I do? So specifically on LinkedIn, uh, there are two questions I have. One is, first, of course, I had earlier episodes where people talked about how to build their profile. So I don't want to go into that into much detail. If you want to touch upon it, great. The second aspect is, one, what kind of content really works, because there are so many formats and it is very difficult for anyone to think of it in a straight linear manner. Like I since I started podcast, I'm posting videos every day. Is video the right format I should keep posting? What should be the mix of content? How should I approach the thought leadership in general? If you want to touch upon that, that would be really helpful for my audience, Puna.
Of course, more than happy to. So I would say there's lots of different formats. The cool thing about LinkedIn is that you can almost run omni-channel marketing on here and try to reuse and repurpose your content. So if we think about it as a spectrum, so on the low effort to the high effort on one side. So if you say low effort, you could just celebrate an occasion, you could do a poll, you could, share an image and write something about it, you could reshare an article, add your point of view. Slightly more higher effort would be things like events or articles or newsletters or maybe a video. But so you have a whole choice of what to do in terms of which one to do. Whichever one that you can do really consistently is the one that you should do. Ultimately, thought leadership is not something that you can come in and do like once or twice and then be like, okay, where's my results? It takes usually 3 months before you start seeing effects of it, right? Think about it as a simple formula. It all comes down to trust. But first, people have to get to know you. Then they have to decide, like, oh, I like this person. Then once they know you, they like you, they're like, okay, now I can trust this person. I want to work with them. A really good example is Rand Fishkin, right? From his time at Mars and now SparkToro, right? People, he's given so much value. Like he's so well liked, he's so well respected. There's so much trust for what Rand says. And so that kind of halo effect of the trust of Rand's brand will transfer onto his company's brand. So if I'm thinking about SparkToro, if I'm thinking about an audience research tool, then I'm going to think, oh, I will do SparkToro because I really agree with what Rand, uh, says and talks about in terms of marketing strategy and approach. So I'm sure that that's in his tool. So anyway, it took him years of doing it consistently to build that. So in terms of what formats, there's two things that we're seeing doing really, really well on LinkedIn. The first one is video. No one's surprised about that at all. We see video is one of the fastest growing formats on LinkedIn. We've seen uploads of video go up 34% year over year. You've seen the new video tab, the new like tab for videos, short form videos. And videos tend to get 1.4 times more engagement than other formats. So it also allows people to get to know you, right? In talking to you and spending a little time and seeing you a little, like people get to know who you are and not just how you think, but who you are. And the second approach is breaking news. Right? People come to LinkedIn to learn, to grow, to invest in themselves. So if you can share breaking news, not just like, okay, this is the headline, but what can you do about it? Or, hey, there's this new whatever GDPR law about privacy. Businesses, here's what you can do about it. Or here's the advice that I have for you. Right? That sets you up as this expert.
Yeah, so one is we discuss the content format and then what kind of content you should push on LinkedIn. The other aspect of LinkedIn as a platform is it's engagement friendly. So if people really want to build their thought leadership, one is they have to share the content. I think there are a lot of other activities which involve interacting with what other people are sharing, giving your opinion, or even if it is not an opinion, your expert opinion, I would say, about the content that other people are sharing, giving a counter opinion, uh, commenting on other people's posts, because that is also important. You have, see, it's a community, it's like real community of people. It's not a platform where you're just coming to sell your content or just throw away your content and go. You have to build that engagement also. So what is your personally, because you are also a thought leader on LinkedIn, what is your strategy that works for you in terms of building that engagement, trust, and like knowing the best people in your industry, and what your advice is for people who want to build their brand, like the executives who want to build their brand on LinkedIn in terms of building the right engagement?
Those are great questions. So for me, what I do is I make sure I post at least once a week. And I try to keep something a very consistent posting schedule. Like usually every Tuesday, only like one or two I will have missed. I will post a video. And I just call it like Purna's pro tip. And so I'll just put it every Tuesday. It's like usually under 3 minutes long. It's whatever I have learned. Like for me, it's authentically me, because me as a person, I love learning about things, and then I get a lot of joy from sharing learnings. Like I'm one of those annoying people with like, oh my god, did you know like this happened? And like my husband and my son are all like, please no more. And so but I love it. Like I love to learn aha moments, and I like to share. So for me, I'm like, this felt very natural. I also I'm very critical when I write. Like I will, I wrote a book, so it's funny, but I will look at every sentence and be like, I could make that better. But you can tell I can talk with no problem. So I'm like, I'll just do it in video. I'll just record myself talking, sharing something cool that I learned, that I found value, and I'll share it with somebody else. And I do that every Tuesday. Then in between, like I'll try to post a second day in the week. But there was a time when I started, for like my first 3 months, I posted 5 days a week. And then what I was finding was I was starting to resent it. I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this again. And then, when you're creating from that energy of resentment, it's very different than when you're creating from the energy of enthusiasm, of wanting to give value. And your audience will always sense it, right? Like you think you've done so many podcasts, right? There's always that one time when you're like, I'm so tired, I'm just gonna get it done, right? Like just ho jayega, whatever. But then you've noticed that the audience will always tell. So I said, I don't want to feel resentful. I want to always be there to uplift and empower the people like I talk to, because they're all fellow marketers like me. And so I cut it down. I'm like, what can I do reasonably without going crazy? I'll do one a week. And then if there's something new, something interesting, I'll throw. Then I'll spend a lot of time commenting on other people's, but not on purpose. Like I'll connect, I'll make connections, I'll ask questions. You like, react, congratulate people. Like just make it so natural. As you said, at the end of the day, LinkedIn, yes, it's business first, but it's a social media platform, right? It's just humans connecting with other humans. So put the social in social media. Like we've all been trained for 20 years now on using social media. So don't forget to do that. And don't do just those AI comments, right? I'll see people will just use chat GPT or something to like summarize the post and then just put that in the comments. Like, people can tell you're not adding value. Sometimes one really good comment can be worth even more than an own post. So do that. And if you're ever stuck for ideas, my favorite tip is like look at collaborative articles. What do they say? What are the posts? I'll just be like, oh, that's a great idea for a post. I'll go write something about it and do that.
Great. So you talked about authenticity and you also touched upon chat gpt, and that was anyway going to be my next question. I think one of the biggest challenge right now is everything is so much bombarded with the text which is well written in english but doesn't make sense, like complete hollow text, and people think this is going to build my thought leadership, while in reality that's a total crap and it doesn't really help. So how do you stay authentic? How do you stay connected to your audience? So other aspect of thought leadership is understanding who is my audience and what they want to talk about, and second is making sure that everything you throw at internet is not generated by ai without you understanding what it really means. So how do you differentiate when you're engaging with people that yeah, these are the authentic people, this is where I want to engage, and how do you stay uh, true to the promise of giving value rather than just throwing content? As you said already, there's a lot of, if it is resenting, that means you are not really into it, you just want to do it as one of the checklist, and then you end up throwing the garbage on like ai and get you garbage which you put it on linkedin and think that this is going to build my authenticity. One is so let me come back to the question, I think I'm going round and round. How do you stay authentic, that is one, and how do you find people who are authentic who you want to engage with? And linkedin as a platform, is there any filter or is there any way to filter out like this is the ai generated part or this is the like even if it is ai generated, if I understand what I want ai to do, then it makes sense. But what most people do is they don't really know what is ai is going to throw at them, and they simply copy and paste it on internet rather than thinking about it. It's like something so prompt and so result which is just thrown on internet. How do you really differentiate who is authentic, where should I engage, and how do you stay authentic in that case?
You can always tell, like a human, we all have this sense of when you're looking at a post. And I'm going to back up for a second. I'm going to say that people sometimes say like all AI is bad or all AI is excellent, right? I think it's in the middle. If you think of AI can be either makeup. So I'm like, I'm gonna put this red lipstick on and then my face will look better. Or you can say like I'm gonna wear a mask. And then if you wear a mask, then people can't see your face. It's very different. So let's say I sometimes will write very long sentences. So then or sometimes, we all get stuck with writer's block. Look, I'm a writer, I'm a former journalist. Like writing is I've been trained, but we all get stuck sometimes, right? I'm like, this words are not wording today. And so then I'll just put it in sometimes. I'm like, help me reword it. Or sometimes, when I want to send a very angry email at work, but then I'm like, I can't, right? Like, I can't say this at work. So I'm like, let me write what I want. I'm like, AI, make this sound more calm and polite. So then I don't get myself in trouble at work, right? So then I'm like, let me put the lipstick on my writing, and that's okay because it's still me. It's just me, but looking more professional, not me like first thing in the morning with my hair sticking up, right? So that's all. If you do it as like the shringar, it's fine. But if you're wearing as a mask and people don't know who you are, it feels very inauthentic. It does not feel human, and that puts people off. Like subconsciously will do that. If your whole podcast was you like reading out something that's very generic, we would not have any rich conversation, right? I would be like, who am I talking to? But we've had such rich, amazing conversations. Like I feel like we could just chat for hours because it's human to human. And so on LinkedIn or any platform, you'll notice this. Like before, in the old days, it used to be I'm going to spam Google's algorithm if I just put out 8,000 blog posts. So many marketers are still stuck in that. But what AI has done is that it's reduced the barriers to entry. Everyone can create content. And so there's more content than ever before. What does that do? We become more selective, right? We become like, if there's like, same with Bollywood, right? Bollywood's seen this downfall with the rise of OTT and all these shows. Like people aren't going to the theaters anymore because like I can watch something better there, right? We are more selective as audiences. So then don't put it out every day. Just be like, check the box, as you said, like put this out. Go less often, but go with really good quality, and then people will like you and they'll follow you. Like, it doesn't matter if you post, no one's going to miss you if you don't post like something once in one week. But keep regular, keep to a schedule, and people will get to know you. I'll add one more point. There is a concept from Harvard professor Dr. Frances Fry. She has this, it was in Harvard Business Review. So she has this concept of the trust triangle, where she said in any relationship, trust comes down to three things. One is authenticity. Do I see the real you? Do I feel like I can know you? The second one is logic. Do I feel that you are an expert in what you're talking about? And then the third one is empathy. Like, do you have my best interests at heart? And so the people who do the best on LinkedIn are the ones that really get that trust triangle, right? If we look at thought leaders you admire, they are people you feel like you know them, you feel like you trust their wisdom, and then you also feel like they want to help you.
True. This is so true and so bang on. I talked to so many people in last 1 year on my podcast, and like the real ones, the real good people. And I would love to talk to Rand one day. So maybe if you can write an introduction
Sure.
and
Yeah.
appeal to him that he should come on my podcast. He's one of the guy with zero hatter. I think that is an achievement for somebody. Now let's come to other impactful thing, which is like what are some of these strategies that you think are really good, high impacting, but not used so often by all the executives who want to build thought leadership? Are there any such things?
There are a few. So, one, not enough executives are posting themselves like they should. It's not that hard. You don't need a separate strategy. In fact, you don't need a lot of time. Even if you can block like 30 minutes on a Monday, 30 minutes on a Friday to just create one post and do it, it will still be a big difference. And it can be anything. It could be your take on the industry. You could share some news. Um, you could share some career advice. So for me, like, I have some people that I mentor. So if, let's say, I give my mentee an advice some week, I'm like, oh, that was actually really good advice, even if I say so myself, I should go and share that with other people. Maybe they can help. Or if I've talked to my mentor and they've given me some good advice, I'm like, that was really good advice, let me go share it with others. So whatever's happening in the flow of the week, like, I just take my phone, and if I have an idea, I'll just write it down in my notes app. Like, you don't have to create. And then at the end of the week, when I have my 30 minutes or to create content, I will just look up and like, what are my ideas? I'm like, oh, that was a good idea. Let me create a post on it, right? So just make it easy. The second thing, and I wish more people did this, build the profile not just of your C suite or your senior execs. Look at the subject matter experts within your company and look at your salespeople within the company. Now, why salespeople? Let's say you got some cold call from somebody, you got some random email from somebody to be like, oh, let's set up a meeting. Your first instinct is going to be delete. But let's say that was somebody you had been following on LinkedIn. You had looked at some of their posts, you got some value from it. You didn't wait. You're like, okay, this person is actually quite good. Maybe I will talk to them. Right. So, in this way, you can differentiate yourself and become more profitable because your salespeople can get an in. So, executives, do it for yourself, but don't just do it alone. Put your salespeople, put subject matter experts. If you are reaching a very technical audience, then let your technical people post content because it's the same language, right? Developers to developers, for example, engineers to engineers, they will speak, similar language, similar jargon, etc.
True. And I think thought leadership is not one person's job. It's like
Yeah.
you have to think of thought leadership as the entire brand building exercise, and it has to be a team effort than one person's effort. One of the important overlooked aspect of the entire thought leadership exercise is consistency. People start with a lot of enthusiasm, but that enthusiasm does not last more than 1 or 2 months. So I will break my question into two parts. One is, how do you stay consistent? And second is, are there some motivational factors or something that can be done internally within the company, so that not just the top leadership or the CEO who is posting regularly, even the team is motivated to post on regular basis, and they come with a lot of value added posts in the process, rather than just uh, it's being a push from somebody to do it, and then there is a lot of resentment, and then they throw garbage, which results into negative branding.
So I would say one is how to do it is you just have to block the time, right? And find the time that works. So like with some people that I know, they'll block 3 hours in a month, and then they'll create all their posts, and then you can schedule them on LinkedIn, and then they can go like post on LinkedIn, have a pretty long shelf life, and then they'll just block in like 5 or 10 minutes at the start of the day or at lunch to reply to comments, etc. You Same thing with like exercise, or people say I don't have time, or something that you want to do, but there's always time, right? Don't um spend so much time in front of the TV, don't scroll for so long. Like the time is there, like you can always take it out and start small. Like any habit, it takes 3 weeks to build a habit, right? So take 10 minutes a day, like first thing in the morning, block off your calendar, but this is my LinkedIn time. And it's so worth it because you'll find value. Because I find so many ideas. Like I'll go there, I'll talk to somebody will share ideas. I get incredible value from being on LinkedIn, like even before I joined the company as an employee. So that's one. The second thing is like you can encourage, like if the senior leaders encourage down that build your personal brand. Like a lot of companies, a lot of leaders are like, no, no, no. If they build their personal brand, they'll leave. And that's not cool, right? Encourage people to find the value for themselves. Like, go build your brand, build on LinkedIn. Like, we want to see you there. And then as executives, engage with those posts, support them. Like my VP, like my boss's boss will, when my book was coming out, she told me that, I'm so proud, like this helps us, Purna, that you have a book. I'm like, that's so nice. Or, she'll make it a point to like sometimes comment on my posts. And then you feel so good. You're like, I get a support from my leaders. I'll post more. Um, that always helps. And the other thing you can do is share ideas. Like sometimes you can have the marketing teams distribute ideas like, oh, these are these cool happenings, or we just did this thing for charity. Feel free to share about it. So give people ideas for what to post, then it gets the ball rolling.
Great, Purna. So the next part, which is even more important for everyone who is listening to this episode, is what is going to be the near future trend. I'm not talking about anything that is going to happen in 5 year, 10 years, because that would be very dangerous to predict right now, especially all the AI things happening. What is going to be the future of thought leadership, let's say next 2 years, how things gonna progress? Something we talked about before starting the recording. I think we touched upon some points. Maybe you can briefly discuss this, and then we are already in 30 minutes. We might have to go to the wrap up, because I've taken more time than I've decided with you.
That's okay. It's a pleasure to chat with you. I'm happy to go on 5 more minutes longer, whatever you need. I would just say that it's just going to get more important. Like things, look, firstly, I'm going to say, like, I will say the next 6 to 12 months, right? It's so hard to predict. 5 years ago, if you were like, what will happen in the next 2 years? None of us could have predicted. So I will just say, like, I think you said this best. Like, competition is just going to grow and grow, especially with AI, again, as it's lowering the barrier to entry. And so, personal brands, or like the things that make you unique, right? Before, brands would have a unique logo, they'd have a unique slogan, right? Nike's just do it. Your people will be your one of your unique brand assets. So try to keep those, because that's as competition increases, as AI makes it easier and easier for people to create code or other things. What makes us human, it's the relationship economy, right, that we're going to. It's those soft skills, that's what's going to set us apart. So if you can focus on what do you need for the relationship economy, people need to know you, like you, trust you. Like, how do you build that?
True. Now the final question, and I promise we'll wrap up after this. What is your advice for someone who is trying to build thought leadership and very shy, somebody not able to produce content, or not able to think that, yeah, people are gonna like this post or like the content that I'm sharing? And second aspect, which comes in the same thing, is what is the lead time? You talked about you have to be consistent for 3 months. How do you stay motivated for 3 months? Because that's a long time.
So I'll clarify that. It's just it takes 3 months usually before you start to see any significant results or impact of the work that you're doing. You just have to be consistent long term. So I would start by saying that posting on LinkedIn, creating content is something that you can only learn by doing. Sometimes many of us are like, no, I'm going to wait till I get better. I'm going to practice. Nope. Just go out there and do it. The good news is no one's going to remember it one day later. The bad news is no one's going to remember it one day later. So you have to be consistent and put it out there. So post at least once a week, twice a week, like whatever you can manage, 2, 3 times a week is ideal. If you can't do that, even if you just start once or twice a week, it will take a little time, but make sure you're engaging with other people in the meantime in a meaningful way. Follow other people, see what's going, and don't worry about it, right? No one is there making fun of you. People are most wrapped up in themselves, so they, just don't feel bad. Go out and do it. If you're not sure if you worded something correctly, use AI to sort of help you reword it, see what you like, make it sound like you again. You have so many tools. Um, don't get discouraged. Like sometimes I was talking to somebody, he's like a director at Microsoft, and he was like, oh, I only got like 300 people viewing my post. I'm like, okay, but if you were speaking at an event in front and you spoke in front of 300 people, wouldn't that be really good? And he was like, yeah, 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 that's true. So, right, you put things into perspective. Like, you don't compare your day one with somebody's day like 1000. So
True.
everybody starts, like even Olympic athletes, they did not come out of the mother's womb just like running and jumping and doing gymnastics, right? They learned, they studied, they made mistakes, and we all make mistakes. Like I'll have some posts that will get 100,000 plus reaches, and then I'll have some posts that even I thought, this post is really good, this will do well, and then it'll be like crickets and no one will care. I'm like, what happened? So you can never judge, right? It belongs to the audience. You are in service of other people. Like your content is not for you, it's not for your boss, it's for your audience. So just add value, give of yourself, show who you are, and it's really fun and good things will happen.
True. This is so true. And I think we should end with this positive note. Thank you so much, Purna, for giving me more than 1 hour that you promised. I really love talking to you, and I would love to host you again in 2025. If possible, maybe we will be talking about something new. But thanks again, and thank you guys for listening us so far. Make sure you subscribe to the 10x Marker podcast. I'm bringing more guests like Purna, sharing real insights and life stories, and just love talking to people and learning from them. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much. Bye.